that was sketchy. So I come outside, and it was very smoky out here. Very, very smoky. This whole room was just clouded out. It was insane. I definitely got to dial the wood stove in a lot more. So I'd be a little more prepared right now. But I'm kind of fumbling and stumbling around because I walked out, was ready to start the live feed, and then realized that, oh my God, is the roof on fire? Is this, like, or did I mess up? So I was trying to put some heat in here before we started, so. See if the light works this way. Try this out. Much better. What's up? Okay. So, what we got? We got Billy, Climber Clint, I see. John's here. James, what's up, buddy? Hey, Billy, yo. Right on. Okay, well, yeah, sorry about that. You wouldn't have been able to see me in here. It was so smoky. It kind of got nuts. But, I did put in... Oh, did I just see Jared? Jared, what's up, man? I did put this thing in so that we could do, like, some rigging stuff. And I can do some examples a lot easier. I did a short showing how to turn an ultra sling, a single ring, into a double ring. Wood stove's got me sketched out. And I will be doing another one on how to make a set of rings retrievable. Like, even if you have a set of double rings that are like this, you can make these retrievable. And I'm just gonna point out how nice it is to have different sized rings, because without you having some different sized rings, you can't turn things and make them retrievable, because you need a ring that the rope can pass through and catch the other one, or some way to do that. There is other ways, but I kind of sketch out with some of them. But down the road for me doing tree job, they have 3. Oh no! Tied together? Wow. Yeah, people get wild. I watched a guy do one, and he, I had this set of this guy's Bradford pears. They're just huge little fat things that sit in his front yard, and they've been done so many times they're pollarded, so they have the growth, the mounds on the outside of every stem, and we just butcher it down. That's what we've always done with it. Full rejuvenation to the whole thing, and just butcher it down to the nubs. Well, I guess homeboy down the road figured he could do that to his, so he hacked it all off, and then it died. So it was being used as like a Christmas tree with Christmas lights, but I don't know what it's doing now. What's up, Bridgeburn? Ground Pounder, what's going on, buddy? But yeah, you can turn a set of rings like this retrievable, and I'm going to show you how. The setup that I'll end up using is I'll use the same ring to make this set retrievable, and to make you know, an ultra sling set retrievable. You won't be using it to make it retrievable. You're going to use it in a different way. I actually think it can be retrieved from the other way with some technical stuff, but I'm not going to get into that. But yeah, let's see what I come up with, because I do have another way that I was thinking of, but I thought maybe this time we could do some. I'll show you my favorite canopy anchor and how to retrieve it with this setup and stuff. But first, I'm going to just chit chat with you guys. I say we do the normal what's been going on YouTube. Fair warning to you guys, since you guys are my regulars, I am gonna be putting up I'm gonna try. Like, I have a video, and I may poke a little fun at just YouTube climbers in general. Okay. Um, I also was thinking we could turn this into a game. So, because I don't mean anything by it, like personal. Sometimes it's just you can see the BS in something and like and smell it, and like the way, like, people are very good. Like tree guys, we try to play dumb for when it comes to like technology and stuff, but some of us are pretty good at editing stuff. And I just think like it'll be fun. Like we do a did he mean to do that or not? And I'll post a video. I'm gonna do this for the next live feed. So I hope I still. I'll give you a reminder, but did he mean to or not? And I'm gonna post a link to a video. And I could maybe, if it's a long video, maybe I'll put a timestamp in for like what happens, and we can all discuss if we think it was, you know, right, if it was real or not. Like, did he mean to do that or did he not mean to do that? Because I've seen some really wild things going on. Like, I've seen some stuff where guys have made some very major mistakes, and they're like, oh, I did that to show you. Like, I'm just trying to hook you guys up because you're watching. So, and I have never seen anybody. I think extended ladders together to get up into a tree. Man, I'm telling you, some people, they're crafty. People can get very crafty. I've seen ladders stacked on, like, I've seen some wild stuff. I've seen people put scaffolding around a tree to take it down, and they did it. So, I mean, I've seen some wild stuff. Better circumstances this time. Ground Pounder, you like games? I say we do that. I think it'll be something fun. And it's like, when I do the video that I'm going to do, I'm just going to do a bit of a parody. It may take me a little bit to get it together, but I just figure I'd tell you guys. I kind of tell you guys everything anyway. But there's just so many fun little characteristics that we do as tree climbers. Like, and I'm gonna poke fun at myself too. So you can pick, like, you can even, even be entertaining to watch and be like, I know who he was talking about right there. I know who he was talking about, right, and you'll know the ones where I'm making fun of myself too. So it's not always sunshine and rainbows. So I think it's funny when that's the picture that gets painted by tree guys on YouTube. But go work a day with some tree guys. They're not that nice always. They're, it's just what we do. Like, I don't know. It's funny. I'm so guilty of it, so I can't say much and like downplay on anybody who does that, but I'm just saying. Dan, what's going on, man? Eat my eat. Right on. What we having for dinner? You can provide me all you want. Right on. I think as tree guys, we don't need to take ourselves so serious. The job is serious enough, and I think as brothers, I feel like we should be able, if we were all working together and hanging out, we would poke fun of each other. So I don't see why you can't poke fun of each other, in video form. It'll be entertaining. Maybe I just turn into a parody channel and that's where I go. Seriously doubt that, but I promise you there will be an ascent in the video where I may even like randomly rough up the camera because the camera like didn't get a good angle of the ascent. Stuff like that. Probably not exactly that. That was best example. But, Anyone ever firewood as a side hustle? Yeah, well, I keep firewood all year, and like, I just got rid of a little bit to a buddy who needed some, and basically just for half of what it should, just trying to help somebody out. But yeah, I usually keep a bunch of it, and for a little bit, I thought I had a deal worked out with a barbecue company, and they were going to take a bunch of wood that I had. But then they told me that like they wanted to be able to pick through it and say what they didn't want, and also I needed to show proof that it had seasoned and set for a year and a half or something. And my mind was blown. I was like, I'm out. I'll burn it in a damn brush fire. Don't play with me. Well, I'm gonna have to put a little roast on everybody, and a lot of the things we're gonna relate to, which is funny. Ground pounder, like I do things that you do things that I do. It's the nature of the beast. We're tree guys. We can we're all a bit different, but we're all very similar at the same time, and that's why it hurts when one of us gets hurt. So some of the cleanup, I hate the cleanup. Chicken and rice, sweet. You could tell a guy had to make like 50 trips. Yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah, I guess I can understand some of that. Some of the stuff that you don't see from other people. I totally get that. It's raining here in New Zealand, so I'm at home watching. Oh, sweet. Right on, Garth. Thanks, buddy. Well, I guess it's not sweet that it's raining, but thanks for watching. When people ask me if I always reply, I don't know how cold you are. Yeah, there you go. Don't make me laugh. Don't you make another sign, man. Um, and of course, I'll have to hustle and like hassle the camera and like make fun of my name and like or my moniker, and all that stuff. Everything's fair game. Like I think that's gonna be my hardest problem with the video, is wanting to put so much into it and not wanting to stop. So it may be like a small series. Maybe I do it in shorts. Maybe that's the way to do it. So I don't. What sucks is the shorts bring in. They bring in activity. They bring in subscribers. I've noticed, but like you don't get anything from those. Like I can make as many of those as I want and it doesn't matter. So usually my shorts a lot of times are I just try to like make one from the video with the highlights sometimes. But and I like trying to be able to show something in 1 minute, the challenge. I feel like I've made too many videos when I start enjoying the fact that they cut you short. But what do you guys say I show you, so we can do something a bit productive on this? Why don't I show you my favorite Canopy anchor, how it retrieves and everything, and like why it's my go-to if like especially Canopy anchor, a good clear one, or especially if I'm going like and I'm tied into a different tree and I'm transferring over to this one, like using a different tree. You gotta watch out for certain things like, you know, stuff hitting your rope, all kinds of stuff. So like there's little bitty techniques to keep you safe in those situations, but I'm gonna show you mine and I'm a minimalist, so my setup is a single rope does everything. So it retrieves itself. So you do it with one climb line, but you have to like if you don't have a sewn eye, you just need a termination knot in the end, a knot to hook to. And another thing I've seen, we're gonna have to use the channel to like correct a few things when it comes to YouTube. And I think one of them is in ground pounder. I think you've seen it from somebody else, and they've called it spam. Too many people, big. I'm talking big YouTube channels, call dual terminal rigging, span rigging, they show where you're rigging from two separate trees, okay? Now, that's dual rigging because it's running off there's two terminal like points from each tree that you're rigging off of. There's 2 points of attachment. Now, span rigging is you're rigging off one span of rope. So if you have a branch over here and a branch over here, and you went up to your X ring, you ran your rope over and you anchored it off, and then you took this top and you clipped it to the rope here, it's now being rigged in a span of rope, a span of rope. So when the ropes aren't they're not together. They're two separate ropes. I don't think that's technically span rigging, but I've seen on very big channels that all they do is like teach. They name it wrong. It's dual rigging. So I'm sure there's maybe a technical term that my hillbilly self doesn't really know, but that's my understanding of it. So when you're span rigging, you're rigging, and the piece is actually on a moving system where it's in a span of rope from 2 points. One's anchored, one's a rigging point, whether it be a crotch, a pulley, or an X-ring. So, but yeah, I'll show you. Dang it, I'm probably so far behind on comments. I hate this. What's up, William? How you doing, buddy? Different types of climbers, something like that. Yeah. Cut a tree down. Yeah, I know. I agree. Ground pounder. That was a very good comparison between steel and Husqvarna. Lucky zero snow here. My dog won't shut up out there. I'll tell you that much. Okay, just winching logs. What's up, Mobark? 2-point terminal rig. One line is transferring, not a span rigging, dual rigging. Yeah, you can do transfer rigging where you're actually rigging off of one system, and then there's another system here that you then transfer the weight over into. Or sometimes if you're dropping it into both, like both are tight, then you're doing dual because you're trying to spread it between the two. There's transfer rigging where you rig something down, and you can do the same thing with transfer rigging, like you do a speed line setup and you leave the speed line setup loose and drooped out. You rig the piece down, it stays there. Then they tighten the speed line up, and then it now rides the speed line. Dropping that into the speed line would shock the system too much. So there's ways of doing transferring with two different points, whether it be a speed line setup or another tree or another rigging point. Okay, so now let's do this. I want to show you. Now, if you look at this rope, I am in love with this thing. Now, you guys see me when I opened this, and I was like, I don't know that I would have, like, darker, like, I don't know, like, I'm always the bright red kind of guy. I didn't know if I'd like the colors even, like, but then I felt the rope and I'm like, ooh, very, very stiff. I like that. Then I got to use it. So I used this SRT first. It worked very, very good, but I ran into the issue because this is a brand new rope. It's incredibly stiff. And by the way, if you want ropes and stuff, Gap Arborist Supply, I will be doing an announcement. I'm sorry because everything that happened, I got behind on stuff, but I had some other stuff go on. I'm going to do this announcement coming up very soon where you guys can sign up with Gap Arborist Supply and use the code Steelborn, and he will give you 15% off all your products that you want for a year. So now I'm just going to show you this. I use this SRT. I did have a little bit of like slipping setback that would like, it took a second for the rope to actually totally engage. And I think a lot of times that happens with a new rope. They haven't got smushed or nothing yet and been tightened and let off. So they don't bite as good. and especially when you're using mechanical stuff. Now, rope friction, I haven't really seen issues with that, but I'm sure there is some. But I used the zigzag, so um, let's set this thing up first. And like I said, I used it SRT for quite a while, and wanted to see how that felt, how the play, and like how it how it ran in the zigzag with the wrench. And I loved how the whole thing worked, the setup worked. But then I switched over to DRT, and that's where I was sold. It is such a good line for such a good line for. I thought maybe it would show the price of what this was on here, so I could tell you guys. But it's so nice for dual rope. So I would definitely recommend this. It is what was this? Poison Moon 11.7. And it does have a spliced eye. So with my setup, and I'm going to show you here, if you don't have a spliced eye, that's okay. I'll show you on the other end here. You just tie a knot. That's fine. You don't need to have a spliced eye for this setup to work. But this is I've messed around with Canopy anchors for quite a while. And they work good. It's just what I've ended up settling on after everything was all said and done, because I used to use quickie links and stuff. That went on for a while. Quickie links for me, I don't know, like I have kind of big hands. My fingers are all tore up. I'm not the most like fine-tuned little individual with my fingers. So I feel like I have trouble with quickie links, trying to push them levers and stuff, and I just get so aggravated with them. So you could, with this setup that I'm going to show you, you could actually replace a micro pulley and a carabiner with a quickie, or you could replace the micro pulley and the carabiner with just a carabiner. But I don't think it's the safest, and I'm going to show you where you get mechanical advantage when you need it sometimes, and it comes in handy so much, and you'll be so glad that you have it when you get in those situations where you're tied into this tree and you're working this one, and like you get up there, but you realize, like, I want to tie in over here, like it's fine. You go to pull your line out, you can't because you're at a weird angle, or you get over so many crotches that it causes enough friction that you can't retrieve it right. This is the quickest, like, cleanest setup that I've come up with and that I like. So I'm just going to use the zigzag on just a straight line. Pretend that it has the rope wrench on it. This would have a rope wrench. So like I was telling you, I have the sewn eye. I would have, oh, here, this is what we'll do here. I'll show you this. So I would have thrown a throw ball up through the crotch, and I would have pulled my rope up through. Okay, let's do it this way. I would have pulled the other end of my rope up through. Actually, this is the way I like to do when I pull a rope up. I like to pull, and I want to pull the other end up, because this end on any rope, especially when you got a sewn eye, tearing these threads and stuff, trying to rip it through crotches and stuff is the main one. I hate using this, and plus this will swell out or get caught on stuff. So I always pull this up first. So what I did was it went up, we pulled all of it through, and now I can take, if I have my sewn eye here, and I can come down here and I can base anchor. It's clean, everything's set up, and I have max rope. But I want to do a canopy anchor up here, And this is a very tight crotch here. So I'm going to show you how easy it is and how it travels through it. We'll go around this outside. So we're up through it. Now I have the other end of my rope. And I'll just kind of say I'll anchor it off by just clipping it onto the zigzag right now. Now I need a micro pulley and a carabiner. So, of course, all I find is a bunch of quickie links after talking trash on the, there it is. Okay. Now, here it is. You got your rope up and you got your rope back already. Make sure it's got decent light. You have your eye. Now you're gonna take this other end and you're gonna pull this end up. So you take the sewn eye, take the end you're gonna work, you put the micro pulley on it like this. Then you take the sewn eye, and this is why I love this specific micro pulley. It's actually for the ISC. It's for the rope wrench. It's got these bigger holes here. I don't know why, but I'm sure there's a reason. But okay, now you have this. You put it on the end you're working, and now with this one, watch how this sewn eye goes right in there. It fits right in it. Perfect. So now I can take a carabiner. I'll try to, it's not going to be the easiest to show, but plus new rope, that tight eye, that sewn eye is so tight. So now you have it on like this. Look how clean that is. Now I have this to hook a retrieval to. So I could use a separate rope if I wanted to and just clip another sewn eye onto there, and I have a total separate rope. I could hide onto the tree there. Or if I only have one rope, what I'll do now is grab the tail and I'll pull the tail over. Where did I do with it? Oh, come on. I don't even know what I did. Oh, there it is. It's on top. See, it's so hard when you have a wad of rope. So I'm going to take this, and usually I don't get real fancy with this knot because it has nothing to do with the climbing system. So this is what I'll do, so I can tell the okay, I'll tell you why I do this too. I take a loop of rope, and I just make this big fat, I think it's maybe, I don't even know, 8 or something like that. I don't know what this knot's called, but I'll show you. So you end up with that. So because this, look at the difference. Now I can see the difference because sometimes you have trouble telling which rope you need to pull on if you take your device off already. But having that bigger knot, that silly looking knot, lets me know a lot of times, oh, it's this one. So I don't have to like choose which end I'm supposed to pull. But now I'll just show you. Let's see if this. So I'll pull it up. That crotch is so tight up here. And usually, okay, when I get up here, let me show you up here what it looks like. Oh, my bad. So when I get it here, it'll come up about right there, and then you have the sewn eye kind of stopping it. So I'll pull my line over this way as much as I can, and then pull back, even on the ground. And that pulls it and gives it that full bite. So now you're locked in. And if I was going to take this down and go like, let's say I drop down, I'm working this tree over here, and I'm going to start dropping stuff. You have to remember you are on a loop of rope. So if you drop stuff on it, maybe you don't want to drop stuff on it. So you can take and just on your device, if you wanted to, if you're over into a tree or you're about to make a cut, you can either try to hide that end if you have enough rope, or a lot of times I'll just take and, like, if I have my hitch climber or something, I'll just keep that other end of the rope over with me, like on the side of my saddle, clip it on somewhere, so that when I'm working, I don't have to worry about dropping something onto this and it like pulling my anchor loose. So I'm working the tree, I'm out over here. Here's the best part about it having the micro pulley, because now you're going to get a mechanical advantage when you go to retrieve it. So you went over a bunch of crotches and now you need to retrieve it and it's going to be tough. Well, that's where the micro pulley comes in handy. So now I'm all the way here. I'm on a loop, so I need to pull a bunch of slack out for my zigzag. Or you could just take and hook it to your saddle, and as it pulls up, it'll like clip down on a let's see, I'll show you what I mean. Like if you clipped it onto your saddle here, and it went up, and you like hooked it onto a carabiner, especially a tight one like this, as it pulled, it would pull the slack out for you. So if you needed to pull a bunch of slack out, you could do that. But now you're here, and you need to retrieve it back over. It's just kind of awesome how easy this thing retrieves. Look at me in camera. So this is my working end. I'll relax on it because I got anchored in with my lanyard, and I'll just give it a little jerk to get moving. But then you got that micro pulley working in your advantage to come back. It's a very clean setup, and that's my go-to when it comes to a canopy anchor. It's what I would always use. Like I said, it anchors really good. It bites down. I've never had trouble with it. And I've been horizontal and been able to retrieve it with ease by pulling the other end. So now I can kind of point people to this if they want to know a canopy anchor. But I'm going to be working on, I'm going to jump ahead on the comments because I know I'm behind. Yeah, I had some other stuff that we were going to talk about, and I'm just like brain dead tonight. That threw me for a loop when I came in here and the whole place was full of smoke. So, alright, I'm going to jump way down on the comments, so I'm sorry if I skipped your comment. I just want to catch up with you guys so I can kind of talk with you now. Oh, sorry about the camera shaking. Alright, so that's my setup. That would be my favorite canopy anchor, and you can eliminate all that with a like a quickie link if you wanted to. I always thought the only way to retrieve a single line rope would be to ground anchor. No, you can always retrieve with it up there. There's ways of doing it and just tying knots, so you can eliminate all the mechanical stuff and just put a knot there. So let's say here, I'll do one for you real quick. Damn, I dropped my coffee. Let's say this thing, I got it over and I got it all the way back to me. Okay, I could go right here and just tie an alpine butterfly. I just said alpine butterfly and did a circus knot. Whatever. I'm so used to the circus knot. It's my favorite anyway. So then you would just take your loop and put it in here and pull that up back there. So now you have to remember what end you're working, what end you're not. So this is your working end. This is your retrieval end. So you want to make sure you give yourself enough working end. And you need to make sure you have enough retrieval end that gets all the way to the ground and makes it so you can give it a pull and pull it back. Plus, you can pull it out and then get your rope back. Is it a mess? Dang, man. Yeah, it's it's just disgusting here. It's not nothing real bad, but I do have some stuff coming up where I'm gonna go like on this crazy cliffside and try to fall some trees, and it should be pretty gnarly. So the old smash cam is gonna be the star of that day. I just need to figure out where to put it and just hope that I don't destroy it, because it should be pretty fun. Me and old Davy went and checked it out one day, and we're just trying to make the lady wants a good view to the I don't know, it just like looks off this mountainside, and she wants a better view. So here's why I don't like the zigzag, guys. The fact you have to pull this damn thing all the way out. That almost made me to where I cut the sewn eye off of my rope one time, but I'm glad I did. It just takes a little while to milk that much friggin' line through. Oh, and that knot that I tied, it's not like it cinches up like crazy either, so it's very easy to untie. So I think this little tree thing should do good for doing some demo stuff, which is kind of fun. I use a ring instead of a pulley. Oh, cool. Right on. You can also use throw line around the canopy anchor to retrieve it. Yeah, but I've seen that break, and then you're forced to go up and get it. That's the only reason. The ring I used to use that because they used to have that. That's when Giorgio came up with the secret weapon, which was the ring with the little strap of rope to the carabiner, and it's very, very nice. So I don't know if I'm just being honest, I don't know what it is that's so appealing to me about that specific canopy anchor, but how mechanical it looks and how I've just not ran into that silly hiccup with it that I have with others. So I've just grown a bit of faith in it over time. So that's probably the whole reason that I like that specific anchor. So canopy anchor is the strongest when you're in the tips. I would like to see a legit scientist do a study on canopy and base anchor. I like to think of myself as I'm not dumb, and I would question that if a canopy anchor is stronger than a base anchor. Personally, I think it's going to have the variable of like which crotch you decided to go through. But I'm saying if you're tied into the same spot and you're causing compression of any sort, it's got to be an advantage. It's got to be helping. It's got to be strengthening, or at least treating it as strongest way. But I don't know. I would love to see some like legit, because I've seen the people who have explained that sort of thing, and it didn't. Well, their explanation did not work for me. They just like, I feel like a lot of times they've said it because someone else has said it, and they just kind of go off that. I've never heard an explanation on canopy anchor versus base anchor strength wise, and like the points that they point out, those I totally get. You know, trying to get very in the very tip, but a canopy anchor is let's say you're up in the tip and you're up here and you tied onto this. If that blew out, that's it. So where I like base anchor is a lot of times I'm through 3 or 4 crotches, then up through that little bitty one. So if the little bitty one was to fail because I'm not able to see it so closely from the ground. It breaks. My line then falls into another crotch as a backup. If you can have backup to a backup to a back, sometimes there's multiple. It becomes multiple backups because you threw it up through a certain way and hit a bunch of different crotches. So me mentally, I prefer a base anchor, and I like to. Sometimes there's just some times where the first thing I'm going to do is go look at where I'm anchored because I can't see it good enough from the ground. So I think that's something that guys should do. And then there's those other times where you just know it's through a good one. And then the security of having it through a real good union and also backed up by a couple other unions is like a comfort that's just, it's so nice. So, like, personally, and I'm not right about everything. I have my opinions about stuff, and a lot of times I feel like, well, I don't know why my opinions always got to be different, but I guess I'm one of them weird guys that like tries to challenge. It just needs to make sense to me. I'm not saying anything is wrong. It just needs to make sense to me. And I've always been told since I've got into tree work that a canopy anchor is stronger. Dan is 1000% right. That a canopy anchor is stronger than a base anchor. I have been told that and told that and told that, and I've never received like an explanation good enough that I felt like, oh, that totally makes sense. And I've heard that it's safer to use a canopy anchor, and that's not the case. A canopy usually does not have a backup. There's no backup for it. So the safer route in that case would be a base anchor because of the way it's went through multiple unions. It's attached at the base. I don't know. That's one of them weird little subjects when it comes to tree work. Kind of like the little video I just put out when it comes to trimming trees. Like topping trees. Doing like full butcher jobs on them. There are trees out there where I get why people do it. Like sweet gum trees. They produce an insane amount of sweet gum balls. I can understand someone butchering one down very short because it'll grow back, and if you want to continuously keep the dead wood and stuff out of it, keep it cleaned up, it'll probably be okay because it's such a hardy softwood tree. But the best part about that is you end up with multiple years when you prune them like that where it doesn't produce sweet gum balls. So that's something I've never heard anybody talk about on, like, as far as tree guys when it comes to YouTube. But there is a reason why I've seen some sweet gum trees get topped, because they're doing it in the hopes that they don't have to deal with sweet gum balls for like a year. From somebody who has a sweet gum tree in their yard, I totally get why they would be over it. And like, they're one of them trees that gets topped like soft maple and Bradford pear. And I'm sure you guys have your own in your regions where you live. So I don't think we have any other ones that I see that get that done to them. I'm trying to think. Well, I've seen it done to anything. People think it could, but that's the main ones. Ooh, I want that hand on you. So, Block's first pulley. You got me thinking lately, mate. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, my only thing with rings is that it's one solid piece of machine, of machined metal, and that the likeliness of it cracking, breaking, or falling apart is very minimal. I can't say that for a pulley because it's pieces put together. So, and plus, I'm looking when I'm rigging. A lot of times, I'm looking to create friction, and a pulley is given a mechanical advantage, which a lot of times stretches a rope much more, like the impact when you drop a chunk into, I'm sure the impact, if someone, I'm sure that someone to do this, they go and do a test on dropping a chunk of wood into a block with a certain amount of reps, or just lock it off, drop it into like a ring, and let it run some friction, like run first, and then drop the same one into a block and see if it has a change, if that amount of friction helps. But yeah, I try to stay very simple, but then I've kind of pushed my luck and try to know a little bit too much about things, where sometimes I should just probably leave it be. I think the rings are safe, but I don't like how they aren't midline attachable. Yeah, that's a bummer. But a lot of times what I do is, as I'm setting things up, I'll set up rings, and then the only thing, like, I'll use speedline straps a lot of times, but that's because I'm spreading them out throughout the tree. Now, a regular carabiner, here, I can show this pretty simple here with what I got. Alright, so, dang, why is it not coming off? A regular carabiner, as the rope runs over it, it's a very sharp bend radius compared to when it runs over a ring or something. Totally different. But you can see how sharp that thing is. So as the rope runs over it, it gives a hell of a smush right there. You can probably see the rope flatten out right there. And it almost causes, like, if this rope was to have a bad spot, kind of like that, as that little bad spot got to there, it's going to hit it and tear. Like, it's too sharp. So I take that sharp angle, and by attaching another speedline strap, here, over here, now the rope is running off of that angle, which is still something a little sharp. I'm not saying it's the safest, but I don't have the smush on anything. The angle where it's going into it is much less. So the chaos when it hits it, if it's got a bad spot, and the just pull down and like force and the smush that it gets in the rope up there, it gets skinny. Same way if you take your knuckle or your finger and you bend, your skin gets tight there. It's the same thing. As the rope goes over, as it starts to come back down immediately at a sharper angle, it gets a smush right there. It gets skinny, it gets thin there. So I blew a rope up one time when I was young, and I was rigging a top off, and I used to have these shackles with these clips on them, and these clips were pretty sharp. So when this was story time for a little bit, clips were pretty sharp. I would say they were about like that, but I rigged the piece off. It was a whole top, and it came over, and there was a bad spot in the rope. When that bad spot made it to this thing, it said pow, and it just erupted. Went right down on a plastic fence, broke the fence, all that jazz. So not fun. Another thing I want guys to remember to watch out for your lanyard. When you're doing logs and cutting stuff down, I know I'm guilty a lot of times of just making a pass-through cut instead of putting a face cut and then, a notch and making a chunk go over. I will just cut through. A lot of times that comes from me doing tip tying so much, and I just kind of, with enough power in the saw, you kind of get away with that sometimes. But if you're taking chunks of wood, depending on the breed, they can tear out really, really, really bad. And I had a buddy who had his lanyard around a tree. He tried to take a big section. It was probably, I can't remember. I think he said it was like a tulip poplar, but that doesn't really sound right to me. It's something that usually happens with a hickory, but his barber chaired, and it smashed all of his like stomach. It like crushed his rib cage in, because when the rip out, the chunk came over, it pulled his lanyard out, to the point that it smashed him against the tree completely and just crushed his whole rib cage, his back, um, and then he had to take and cut his lanyard, and if not, it would have killed him. It was just kind of compressed again. It was holding the whole section on him. That's a sketchy thing. Keeping a notch in the front, making a face cut, something, a bypass for. Pay attention to your lanyard. I feel like the lanyard gets overlooked, and it's the quick throw on safety belt. It's the seat belt of tree climbing. Some people use them, some people don't. So it gets overlooked. That lanyard being in that position can easily suck your hips in and do some harm to your body. So be aware of your lanyard when you're making, major cuts and stuff. And that's just something I've seen lately. And I wanted to draw like a little bit of attention to it because of the story that I've had from a guy I worked with kind of sketched me out because I'd had situations like that happen. Um, and I really kind of dig how I watch you guys' stuff as much as I can. I try to keep up. I'm a little behind, but there's so much for me to have to watch. And you guys are really cool about being honest and just being straight up about stuff instead of BS in your way. Like, everything's not perfect. I get a kick out of like you'll see you'll see a guy say, "Well, I'm gonna take this thing," and he'll point down with the camera and say, "We're looking to put it about right in here." He does it, makes the cut, just goes flying over. Perfect, perfect. They couldn't have gone any better. Like, then you get a view and it's like 10 feet over. I can't wait to do the video. I want to do this kind of stuff and like maybe use a little bit more comedy. I feel like tree work's a little too serious sometimes. Maybe I could use some humor brought into it. And definitely not the funniest guy, but I'm going to give it a shot at pointing out these little nuances that happen that you may not even realize happen because you're so used to them. It's just the regular. So it'll take me a while to come up with the exact way that we'll do this and to work it out, but I think it should be fun. And maybe I'll test it out on a few shorts and stuff first and see how that goes, and we'll go from there. Richard Mumford is the guy. I would trust his findings. Uh, I guess, maybe. I mean, I need somebody who understands structure and forces and stuff, because even like a builder at times, they they understand that stuff to an extent that others don't because like certain ways of building can hold more weight and like what's the maximum way for this building shape that we're using, what's the maximum way to hold weight for this angle, stuff like that. So like I want somebody who is like totally, let's say they haven't put out 50 videos, nothing to do with it, they've not tried to guide the people one way or the other, someone who knows nothing about it. They take on the topic, they're just a very smart individual, some sort of a scientist that does this stuff, and they just test what's safer, like the impact on ropes. I feel like the impact on ropes, you know, with the pulley to the ring thing is something too. What's the effect on the rope itself? And then also do the base anchor, canopy anchor. I think it would be a really good topic. I think a lot of guys would probably be interested in it because I don't know what I have a difference of opinion with it. So canopy anchor has half the stress on it. So you're telling me because I use a base anchor, I'm now 400 and something pounds? Just because I used a base anchor on that rope, I become 400 pounds. Just sound like, say that kind of stuff and tell me how that would really make any sense. Like, we're going through a union in a tree, a big straight union. It's straight. We're both going through the same thing. Let's say, you want and one around right up, let's say here, and you tied in right there, canopy anchor. Okay, I threw up through that same union to the bottom. We're both tied on. We're SRT up. I weigh twice as much as you, and I'm putting twice as much force onto the rope. That doesn't seem right to me. That doesn't seem right to me at all. Because you put a knot in the middle of your rope, you weigh half. Like, that kind of stuff doesn't make sense to me. It just really doesn't. Richard's so smart when it comes to anything, when it comes to tree work. But, like, I think that's a guy that's probably wrote most of the rules. But sometimes we get things wrong. Sometimes maybe they're being explained. Maybe I just haven't heard it explained in the right way. But we're using the same piece of rope, and all you do is attach a knot in the middle of yours so that you can anchor it onto the limb, as opposed to me going through the crotch. Now because of that knot being added, you now are way half of what I weigh. That just doesn't. I don't know, man. I get when you're out on the very tips and things are starting to become horizontal and stuff like that. That becomes a factor in it, because like if something's leaning and I go up over the back and am able to put force into the whole stem, and you tie it in out here on a tip on a leaner, how would it be stronger out there as opposed to me going up through on the back side and applying force into the stem? It depends on what sorry, I'm gonna try to catch up on comments. Sorry. Creating different angles equals different forces. Yep. Base anchor has twice the tension in the same crotch. These both just depends on the tree. Ever had a limb hit your anchor side? Ever had a limb hit your... Yeah, I have. Yeah. But my setup, like, my only concern when I'm doing stuff like that, especially like with base anchor, is that if it hits it at the right angle, it chops the rope. But mine's set on a double bite, so I've hit the anchor, and it doesn't really do anything. I'm always worried about it chopping the rope, though. Yeah, that's a concern. I'm also worried if the guy's got a rope in their hand and they're reaching around and messing with it, too. Like, or they got a saw in their hand. I want to lay down. Stop. That's always a worry, because my ropes have been killed by so many pole saws with Dave's that it's crazy. And more often than not in tree work, we are creating a much more favorable anchor with our base anchor, but I totally agree with the multitude of forces. I love the alpine butterfly until I learned the circus. I know the circus now just seems easier to do and stuff. Joe Bisping explains it in a video very simple. I know, I just was checking out Joe's channel. What happened to his channel? It doesn't like... It's been over a year or more since there's been anything. All depends on this. See, I've heard this explanation though, but like that didn't sell me because of what I was just saying. Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just dumb, man. I don't know. Like, I'm not saying I'm the brightest crown in the box at all. But that one just doesn't make sense to me, and maybe I need to spend more time trying to figure it out, because Haven't seen this such in a while. I know. I just checked his channel. It's been over a year or more. Tree bullfrog. I know. Yeah, I don't know what they did. If they jumped over to Patreon or what they. I don't know what people do. Like, it is usually you get burnt out on this stuff. You know, you spend a lot of time putting out content. It doesn't get the views. And a lot of YouTubers say your channel at one point, if it doesn't grow fast enough, it's dead. You should just start a new one. And I'm good with this. This is simple. And, you know, you get the fancy big channels. You guys can go there and you can come over here and be a little more interactive with you. I'm going to go through and watch this later. Gotta put my daughter to sleep. All right, all right, Bob. Stay safe, brother. Thanks for hanging out. It said ring aren't safe for rigging. Single ring. I didn't use pulleys anywhere in my setup at all. Oh, a single ring? They say, like, for negative rigging, it's not the best. But see, the rule changes. They try to say that you need to use a dual ring. They said this is the way it's considered in all Arbor supply stores. This ring is meant as a redirect. These are sold as redirects. I don't know. It may even say soft anchor. Yeah, soft anchor is what, I don't know if like that means anything, but these are considered redirects because I think depending on certain amount of weights, when you get in a certain amount of weight, the bend radius is still a little too sharp. That's why they say use a dual ring setup, especially when you get into any mass, you know, big amounts of weight, because the smush effect is less. You know, it goes over a wider space. So it spreads that rope out so it doesn't smash it at one point so much. It kind of spreads that out, which becomes safer. So where you were doing it with two, it's totally fine because it's not being lowered in this fashion. It's coming at an angle which makes that safer. You're almost, because you're using this other system over here, you're running that in, like, with as far as bend radius, probably more at a 2 to 3 ring setup, because until it gets down to the bottom and it gets all the way back over, that's, you know, angles change everything. Angle changes everything. Same thing, in my opinion, when it comes to base anchor to canopy anchor. Angle of the limb that I'm about to work or hook up to is a lot of times going to depend on if I would canopy anchor on that limb or base anchor. So. Yeah, the bend right ring. You see me using single rings sometimes, like for a small setup that's not major. You're doing little stuff. You know, you could. It's gonna be okay. I mean, I hate saying that because I shouldn't say that, but that's the same thing. I've done that more times than I will ever count. So yeah, I would say as long as you're not getting into massive amounts of weight, it is okay to use a single ring. But as you start to get in excessive weight, you should definitely increase your bend radius so that you don't end up breaking a rope. So, but yeah, if you see me use the bend right ring, it's 2 rings made into one, which makes a better bend radius. The German guy uses micro pulley for light rigging. I've seen, yeah, they make I think the Pinto pulley is like meant for quite a little bundle of weight. I've seen some really neat little compact pulleys, like the Hulk, the little Hulk one. That thing's pretty cool.
Hey, he's got a possum on the other side of the fence.
You guys want to go see a possum?
It's a cat, but it's a possum. It's a fat one. And he won't leave it. Right up there.
Why won't the possum leave? Where is it? Jesus. That is the biggest possum I've ever seen. Okay, I gotta go get a light. You guys gotta see this. This is insane. He's so big. That is like that's legit. Probably a 40-pound possum. Alright. Run inside real quick. I gotta get oh, I got that like lantern light. This will work perfect. There's probably nobody here anymore. Here. Okay. Alright, now we're good to go.
Oh, Mom said he was coming to help you.
Oh.
I don't want him over there by himself.
This thing's a nutcase. He just kept growling at me. I was smacking the heck out of it. But he's like bucked up to the dog. We all rabid. Look at how big he is. Jesus Christ. Why is he so big? Jesus. Can you see that? Honey, stop. You're not having it, are you? Hang that light right there. What is this dude's deal? Yeah. Is that a possum? That is the biggest possum I've ever seen. That thing was a complete savage. Did you see him? Like he was having none of me. I'm just gonna go over here to my neighbors. Oh god, I'm gonna like walk around on him. That is the biggest damn. Oh my god. Dude, go somewhere else. Damn. These city possums are wild. Well, it looks like I'm gonna figure out some way to get rid of this thing because it's not leaving my house. And it looks like all rabid. Like it just did not want to move. It just wanted to like fight. So, yeah. I'm out of here. Guys, thanks for hanging out. Was a weird one. Figured we ended even weirder. So, I'll catch you next time. Stay safe.